Today I will be showing you how to create a room, add a couple different types of equipment groups, and assign outputs to those equipment groups. I will be going through VentGrid and heating groups in this video. Part 2 will go through a classic staged ventilation group, a heat mat group, and a lighting group. Part 3 will show you how to assign various sensors as inputs for these different groups. And finally, Part 4 will look at some specialized groups relating to feeding, chain disk feed systems, the auger manager, and bin track integration. So, let's get started. I start off logged in and on the home page. I will go to the menu and then to structure. Here we can see we have two tabs, Rooms and Other. For now, we're just going to stay on the Rooms tab. As always, if you want to know more information about this page, hit the check mark in the bottom right-hand corner, and this brings up the help. And as you can see, there's all sorts of information in here. For now, I will just continue on. So, first thing we want to do is add a room. So we will press this icon and add a room. I'm just going to call it Room 1. As far as what you want to call things, that's really up to you and how you have organized your barn or your operation. You'll want to name things in a way that it is easy for you to remember and to keep track of what is what and where it physically is. So whatever naming scheme works best for you is what you should use. So now that I've added a room, I'm going to add some equipment groups into the room. So right now I have Room 1 selected, and then I will press the green check mark and add an equipment group. I am going to add a ventilation grid group, will be the first one, and we will call it Room 1 VentGrid. And press save. And here now we have our Room 1 VentGrid. Then I am also going to add the heating group. I will name it Room 1 Heat, select the heating type, and press save. So, now that I have added these equipment groups, we need to configure, we need to select some outputs that are attached to equipment and assign them to these groups. So let's do that. There are two different ways to get to the configuration page. The first one is if we want to just go through this tile here. So if we click on the VentGrid tile, this shows us our VentGrid tile, and if we had any equipment already assigned to this, there would be tiles for them here. Because there aren't any, we can press this icon and it will take us to the configuration page. The other way to get to the configuration page would just be from the main menu. We have configuration right here. You may have noticed there, if you go through the menu configuration, it'll just automatically select your first equipment group in your list of equipment groups. If you go from the structure page via the group itself, it'll automatically have selected that group. So now let's begin to assign equipment to our group. First thing that we need to do is search for modules. I see our modules are not showing up here, so let's check our hardware and make sure that all our modules that we expect to see, all the modules that we have physically populated, are showing up. And so we want to add in these modules. So we will confirm the changes. And we'll see here our communications light was red. It was telling us there was an error with communications, and now it's green because now we have found all of our modules. So let's see here. Starting off with heat, let us select RM4. We'll select terminal 1. We will call it heater 1. We will say that its function is heating. Here we have options. We can select between a couple of different icons. I'll just leave it at that one, and I will press save. And then let's go into our VDC. And we will configure a variable heater. Again, we've got a couple of different heaters. Let's actually use this one because it's not actually a heat light. It's just saying that it's like a variable furnace. So variable heating, I've named it, and now I have saved it. Then let's go ahead and add a few pieces of equipment into our ventilation group. So in our ventilation group, let's go ahead and add this actuator in. So this will be, I'll just call it ACT1. Again, you'll want to name each terminal something that you will know what is connected to it, right? So whether it's a group of fans or a single fan or an actuator, you know what? Let's even just call this north curtains, right? So if it's an actuator that is controlling some curtains, then maybe we'll tell it that it's controlling the north curtains, so we know which ones it's controlling. Let's throw on that it has feedback, potentiometer feedback. That sounds good. So once we've selected everything that we want here, set it up correctly, we will just press save. And then let's add a couple of fans here. So I'll just call it a fixed fan, number 1. Its function is cooling. I will add a second fixed fan. Let's add a couple of variable fans as well. So assign these. So one other thing to note is that you can see we have 3 different colors going on for our terminals, for our outputs, well, and our inputs as well. We'll talk about those in a later video. But the 3 different colors mean the 3 different things. So if an output or if a terminal is gray, that means that it is not assigned anywhere. It is not assigned to any equipment group. If a terminal is green, that means it is assigned to an equipment group, but not the group that you currently have selected. If it's yellow, then it's assigned to the group that you currently have selected. So because I currently have ventilation selected, these 4 or 5 outputs that I have configured and assigned to this group are all yellow, whereas these 2 that are assigned to heating are green. If I would switch over and select the heat group, now our heat outputs are yellow and the ones that we have assigned to the VentGrid are green. And so that is how you will add in a room, how you will add in a couple of different equipment groups, and then how you will configure and set up different pieces of equipment, different outputs to that equipment group. In a later video in this series, I will go through different types of equipment groups, and then also later on we will get into the settings of how you actually program the equipment so that it operates as you desire it to. But for now, that is the end of part 1